Today we're making a modular coffee table that can be pulled apart so you can bring your section closer to you. Perfect for food, drinks, laptop, recreational activities, or whatever. You can even sit or stand on it if you need extra seating. You'll learn a bunch of tips and tricks along the way, but I also want to show you where the inspiration came from and how I designed it. New ideas are just remixes of old ones, so I want to go a little deeper into the creative process.
There are free plans available, and this video is brought to us by Squarespace.
While gathering inspiration for a coffee table on my freeform board, I came across this table on Amazon. I found it interesting that it could pull apart and go together either in a rectangle or a square. I'm not sure why you would do that, but it gave me the idea. What if a coffee table could break apart into 3 separate pieces? So you could pull one side closer for your food or drinks, or maybe even use the middle as a stool. So I sketched up this design. It's a modular coffee table that comes apart and fits back together like a puzzle. Flexible, functional, just a little weird. I started the digital drawings in Adobe Illustrator. I've been using Illustrator for almost 30 years now. I got a degree in graphic design way back in 2000, and I'm just very comfortable using Illustrator. I then imported that drawing into Fusion and extruded the 3 top sections and started drawing the bases. One of the most amazing things about Fusion is being able to set variables so it can be changed later to update your model. So I set 2 parameters, one for the thickness of the wood and one for the height of the coffee table. Drawing everything else with those 2 parameters helps me play with different heights and thicknesses. I originally wanted this to be made from 2-inch thick walnut and 15 inches high, but after measuring other coffee tables and the height of our couch, I decided it should be at least 17 inches high. Using 2-inch thick walnut leads to some challenges. Since I'll be using router templates to make repeated pieces, the largest template bit I have is 1.5 inches. And if you've ever purchased large spiral router bits, you know it's quite the investment. So I want to work with what I have. It's also beneficial to have these limitations and design around the tools you already own because it forces you to be creative. Once I was happy with the design, I made a quick cut list in Adobe Illustrator and took that with me to my favorite hardwood dealer, KenCraft. KenCraft is local to me in Toledo, Ohio, but they do sell online, and I encourage you to check them out. They're a small family-owned business, and Tracy is my go-to guy when I have woodworking questions. I realized when I got there, they didn't have 6-quarter walnut on the shelf, but luckily there was a fresh pallet that had just come in the back room. And man, what a feeling to be the first person to flip through a pallet of 1.5 inch thick walnut to pick the cream of the crop. To be honest with you, I didn't even pick the best boards. There were some really wide ones in there that somebody else may need, and I'd hate to take that joy away from them. All of the lumber at KenCraft has one straight edge on it to make your life a little easier. But since this pallet had just come in, they hadn't had a chance to join an edge yet. So I had Tracy run my boards through a straight line rip saw. If you've never seen a straight line rip saw before, it's pretty freaking cool. I'm still working off my winter belly, which is coming in handy here as I step on the boards to try to get them to line up. Everything is all glued up. The tabletops are going to be 16 inches wide, and then the legs only need to be 14.5 inches wide. The max width on my planer is 16 inches. The depth of this coffee table happens to be 16 inches, so I need to cut this down to 16 inches. We got that plane down to thickness. I am gonna cut out some patterns that we're gonna use the router because we have multiple pieces that are the exact same thing. I've already gone ahead and drawn this up, and I'm gonna try to reproduce that drawing here on some 1/4 inch plywood. Or if you don't have a scroll saw, just use your laser. So now we're going to take our templates here and then just transfer this line to the top. I drew up all three top pieces on the same glue up. That way the grain would be running throughout. And another reason I'm glad I didn't use 2-inch walnut is because I don't think my jigsaw could even handle wood that thick. So I used the jigsaw to break everything apart and then finish this off over on my little bandsaw. Basically, I'm cutting close to the line without touching it, so the router template and the router bit can do all the work. And this is that 1.5-inch router bit that we discussed earlier. That top bearing will ride around the template that we just cut, giving us repeatable and perfectly shaped pieces. And then once the top was done, I can move along to the 6 leg pieces, which still needed to be planed down, cut the length and width before we can use the router template on them. This is my custom-made sliding crosscut table. With this, I can crosscut way larger pieces than I ever could with a sled or a miter gauge. I've got a video on making it. It has been a game changer in my shop. And just like with the top, I'm using a router template to cut out all 6 pieces, which are the exact same shape and size. Over the past 8 months, I have chosen to focus more on creativity than sensational content. And because of that, views are way down. And when views go down, less sponsors want to work with you. But that's okay, because I am much happier with the content I am producing, and because of my Patreon members, I am still able to do what I want to do. And I want to thank my top core Patreon people here, and that's Jonathan Ransom, Jim from Wiserbees, Ron from Gnomeworks, Jason Ramos, Tom, and Wabbit Amy. I do not sell my raw Fusion files to the public, but I do give them away to my Patreon members. Patreon members also get PDF plans, behind the scenes videos, monthly coupons, and access to our private Discord, which is active and thriving. It would be really hard to make the content that I want to make without my Patreon members. Thank you. To make these legs, I have to cut a notch here and then a notch here, and then they'll fit over top of each other to make that cross section. I didn't put these cutouts in the template because I wanted to cut them to the exact thickness of the wood. So here I am, wishing I would have cut these notches out before cutting the sides, because now that we have the curve on the sides, there's not a lot of area to reference off of. So what I am doing is taking my combination square, and I got one little straight edge right there to set the distance. Then I can bring in another square to make sure that is square.
Are we square? Are we square?
And draw my line. And then using a third square, I can come in and draw the halfway point, which is 7 15/16. You can never have enough squares. You can never have enough woodworkers telling you you can never have enough squares. So then on this other piece, we got to do it from the bottom, which is even more difficult this time because there's no straight edge on the bottom. There's a little straight edge here, so I can reference that for my distance. And then I can use the long square from this side to get that square. Draw that line, draw that line. come in to my halfway point, which is 7 and 15/16. I can cut this out on the bandsaw. So here's the thing. My bandsaw is not big enough where I could come in and turn the corner because this hits the side of the bandsaw. So what I'm gonna do is make this straight cut, back out, make this straight cut, back out, and take a jigsaw to cut that off, and then go back over to the bandsaw to finesse that final line right there. It'll make sense when you see it. The reason I'm not using the big bandsaw is it died. It won't turn on. It's not the e-stop, and I assumed that it was the foot brake. So I went and bypassed the limit switch and still doesn't come on. I can check with this. I'm getting power to the saw. So then there's a cord coming out of the switch to the motor. So if I set this on that cable and I hit the switch, the motor is getting electricity, but it's not coming on. I am assuming that the start capacitor went out. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't even know what electricity is. So it turns out it is not the start capacitor. So back to the drawing board. Anyway, my buddy Jack is coming over tomorrow. He's an electrician. He's gonna help me figure this out because this is way beyond me. A $2,000 bandsaw that's only 6 years old should still be running. So I ended up sanding all the pieces and then putting a round over on everything before the glue up. The reason I wasn't talking to the camera here is because I couldn't remember the name of the joint. I suppose I could look up the name of the joint now and put it here on screen, but somebody's gonna let me know down in the comments. The bases are all dry. We've got everything all sanded. So now it's time to attach the top to the bases. And I'm going to use these expanding dowels along with these dowel centers. And while doing this, I'd like to tell you about today's sponsor, and that is Squarespace. I have been using Squarespace for over 10 years, long before they were a sponsor of the channel. Squarespace has always been easy, but it's never been easier than now. With their design intelligence, all you gotta do is answer a few questions and it starts setting up your site in the background, all populated for you. And then you can go in and change all the copy and the photos to what you need. It is insanely easy. See, you see how jigs make this process easier? Squarespace is a lot like these jigs. It just makes setting up your website so much easier. Squarespace templates are absolutely beautiful. For many of those 10 years that I've been using Squarespace, I had a Squarespace template developer make me a custom one. Since all their templates are just insanely beautiful and responsive and easy to use, I've switched to one of their default templates, award-winning templates. And that should transfer marks where I need to drill the hole in the base. If you're setting up a Squarespace store, you can accept multiple forms of payment. Of course, you got credit and debit cards. You've got digital payments, buy now, pay later. You can do PayPal, and they even offer in person. So if you're at a craft show, you can accept payments right there on your phone. How cool is that? So visit squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, visit squarespace.com/makesomething to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you, Squarespace, for making these videos possible. Thank you, Squarespace, for making my life easier. Let's finish up the other two. If you've been wondering what happened to the rental house, we're still working on it. This coffee table is for the rental house. Eventually, you'll be able to rent this house for a weekend, check out all the furniture that I made, possibly take a class, a personal one-on-one class with me. Still working all that out. It is taking a lot longer and a lot more money than we ever thought it would. I can only do what I can do. But anyway, the coffee table came out absolutely amazing. If you're eating or whatever, you can pull this up to you. Your partner can pull theirs up to them. And this is beefy enough, you can stand on it. It's the same height as the couch. So all three pieces work as benches or stools. That beefy walnut looks so freaking good. You can arrange it in different orientations. I can create a little cockpit area here for all my food and drinks and video games. Truth is, I don't even play any video games. You could even move pieces to the side of the couch and work as a little end table, like so. And the base, I had the base offset just a little bit, so this end hangs out a little bit more, so you could put your stuff right there. So I think it is an excellent design. I'm really happy with it. Only Patreon members will get access to the Fusion file. Within that file, you can change the height or the thickness of the wood, and it automatically updates the entire model instantly. Everybody will have access, including Patreon members and non-Patreon members, to the free downloadable router templates. That is gonna wrap it up. I'm David Picciuto. This is Make Something. We'll see you next week. As always, be safe, have fun, stay passionate, and make something.